Dreamscape is an example of a low-budget science fiction film that went wrong. Originally written with a different story, a cast of 12, and designed to be 1 hour long with a lot more action, it turned into a paranoia in space design with a small cast working with different themes and ended up being around 20 minutes long. The original plan was to have the crew come across a derelict freighter and discover an ancient blade that had the power to possess the wielder to commit evil acts. This would result in multiple murders, paranoia, suspicion, and chaos. I had many issues with casting, with 8 of my cast defecting to another film on the day that I could actually get them all together. 2 more cast members couldn't make it. All I could do was rewrite the script on the spot. I called up another friend and begged him to come over and play a role, which allowed me to use the large set that I had designed for those scenes as best that I could. Thankfully, in the time it took him to arrive, I had a new idea for a script and began working from that angle. It featured the evil knife, the freighter, and some of the themes, but the people that I could not rely on were cut out of it. This was a hard but necessary decision, as I could not risk working with them again. Working on the new script was hard and complicated and required many adaptations to my work. I ended up having to cut out one of my friends who played the original character who found Michael. I substituted her for my friend Zach, who played Quinn, who I had filmed several scenes with. The scene itself had several issues. Michael had originally filmed the scene with me checking his pulse, which caused several issues because he was still breathing in the clips, and I couldn't find any clips of him when he wasn't breathing. Because of all the issues that the script now had, I had to basically rewrite the entire crew from the point and perspective of a crew that was exceptionally paranoid and didn't like each other, which personally I enjoyed, and I felt it added something to the scenario rather than just having everybody getting along. But still, looking back on it, I would have rather stuck to my original script. Because of my lack of reliable cast, I had to write myself in as one of the characters, Matt, who is the first person to die. He dies on the away mission onto the freighter, being shot in the back of the head by a laser. Matt's main character design was that he doesn't enjoy the waiting game which he's having to play with the rest of the crew and would rather be put on a different ship. Nobody particularly likes him very much, so that's kind of how I felt at the time when all of the crew defected and left me for another film. But, you know, it was interesting, certainly putting myself in a role where I got to die early on in something, which allowed me to film the rest of the scenes, and that basically reduced my problems dramatically. By having an extra cast member, I was able to improve on every single one of the other characters which I designed. My friends Zach and Simon, who played Quinn and Jim respectively, were much darker individuals. Neither of them can really stand working with Matt, but they are probably the 2 crew members who are closest to being friends with each other. I wanted to go for a very dark undertone, so I hinted at one point that Jim has lost people before on away missions, and that his character might have something to do with their deaths. As we don't know what causes the laser system to activate, Jim, being in the freighter at the time, is a possible suspect for Matt's death. He realises he has received radiation poisoning whilst on the freighter and warns Quinn to wear protective clothing, which I believe personally strengthens the idea of their bond as friends. Next up we have Michael. Michael keeps himself to himself. He was created so I had someone else to kill off, and I'd hoped that when Matt's deceased body stabs into death it would allow me to write paranoia in between the remaining crew. However, upon reviewing the footage, Michael was still breathing when Quinn is meant to find him. It was a golden opportunity, as when Quinn finds him he picks up the ancient dagger, so I decided that the dagger would corrupt the already uncaring character of Quinn and use him to murder Michael once and for all. At this point in writing the script, I decided that I wouldn't use Matt's body again, as it had already fulfilled its shock value. My friend Megan, who played Rachel, was the captain of the ship. I wanted her to be a calculating character who values ranking officers over her other crew. She manipulates Matt into going on board the freighter rather than risking her second-in-command, Quinn. I put her in a tired role where she wasn't really enjoying responsibility, which made sure that she handed over the power to Quinn and allowed it to be a more natural effect than if I'd put her down as someone who is, say, a strong character, who might have tried to fight for it, rather than just giving up immediately. She gives herself over to a higher power, Quinn, believing that he is doing what he personally believes is right. In regards to the ending, I decided to not use Matt's reanimated corpse, choosing to favour the idea that Quinn had struck a bargain with the ancient weapon. Quinn had set the ship to self-destruct, and he had released the weapon into the care of the body, and both of them had been cast into time, leaving Quinn and Rachel on the ship, which is, as I've mentioned, now set to self-destruct. Quinn, feeling remorse for his actions as they have built up, opts to shoot himself and take his own life rather than waiting to die or try and save the captain, as he doesn't want evidence of what he has done escaping, and boom, the ship explodes. Dreamscape was shot in 1080p on the Lumix G5 DSLR camera. It was shot in black and white using the setting of dynamic monochrome. I coloured every shot in post using the monochrome spectrum to change the grayscale into low, mid and high tones, such as a very dark red into a middle blue and into a very light yellow. Then I'd add colour correction, followed by a Gaussian blur to create the horizontal haze on either the red or blue channels, and put a tinted overlay over the entire piece that would usually be one colour bleeding into another, say blue into red. This created the effect of the colour which was used in the film. My choice of shooting in black and white was the idea of saving money on budget. If the film was shot in monochrome, the fact that I used blow-up airbeds for backgrounds wouldn't stand out as much as if I'd used colour. In black and white, they make much more realistic panels, even if they're still a little bit obvious. When colour corrected using the techniques that I used, they looked a lot better than when I'd originally shot in colour with airbeds. The artwork behind Dreamscape was designed by my friend Sarah Feather. She worked tirelessly to bring me the beautiful shots of space which I edited into the main title sequence, and tried my best to appear 3D in the other space sequences which I used. The spaceship models were designed by myself, and they consisted of various household items combined together with the power of tape and blue tack, or twisted through each other so as to form a rigid platform. The model guns which were used were made for me by model maker Martin Bauer, whose work on Blake 7 and Alien I found very inspiring. Personally, I enjoyed making Dreamscape, and I'm very grateful to everybody who helped me make it. I realised that even though my ambition had not been matched by the work, what I'd created was a watchable horror science fiction film, and when I saw it getting views and likes on YouTube, I was happy. I realised that for all that I chastised myself for it, there were people out there who liked it. There were also people out there who disliked it too. It made me very happy that I had affected such a large audience, but it taught me that science fiction is very hard to make. Anyway, I hope that you found this mini documentary helpful, and if you liked it, please feel free to subscribe, press the like button, that sort of thing, and maybe even share it with your friends if they're filmmakers. Anyway, if you've got any questions about Dreamscape, feel free to ask them, and I will try and get back to you, and I might even make a new video in the future if there's enough questions, which I hope will answer everything that you have to know about it, or would like to know. Anyway, take care, have a really groovy day, and thank you so much for watching this. I would also like to thank, yet again, my cast for going through this film project with me, and for everybody who's helped out. It's been a really hard journey, and it's driven me halfway mad, but I'm really happy to finally have completed it. So thank every single one of you, and take care, have a groovy day. Bye.